ever since I reviewed the Puma MagMax, a lot of you have been insisting that I also review its MagRegular sibling. So let's lace up the Puma Magnify Nitro 3 and take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kafuzi and I'm an elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys all about the Puma Magnify Nitro 3. Before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Puma sent to me for the purpose of review, so I didn't have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and nobody's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Magnify Nitro 3, and let's start with the specs. This is a 40mm stack height shoe with a 10mm drop, giving us 30mm of stack height in the forefoot. Nitro has meant a lot of different things at Puma over the years, and this year is no different. You may notice that there is a visual similarity between this Magnify Nitro 3 and the Velocity Nitro 4 that I recently reviewed. Now, that shoe also nominally had Nitro foam as the only component in that midsole. In that shoe though, the Nitro foam was an aliphatic TPU. In this shoe, in the Magnify, the Nitro foam is 100% PBA. So Nitro is kind of meant to express an experience and not necessarily a trade name for a chemical compound. And I think the one extra fact that I think I should tack on to this discussion of these different kinds of foams is that even if a shoe is, say, all aliphatic TPU, not all aliphatic TPU midsole foams behave the same. There are ways that you can tweak the formula and the construction processes of these shoes to deliver specific kinds of results that you might want to put in a racing shoe versus a daily training shoe, for example. Same thing can happen with PBA. You can make it very airy, squishy, and racing-like, and you can also put it in something like a max cushion shoe and have it tailored to the things and experiences you would want in a max cushion shoe. Now, protecting all this PBA foam in this Nitro shoe is a nice layer of Puma grip. This is a very tacky, grippy material that also lasts a really long time. You're getting a great amount of surface area coverage for this shoe, which is intended for a lot of miles and a lot of use. And you also are getting a deep layer of that rubber where you do have it on the outsole. Moving to the upper, we have a very stretchy knit material in the vamp, in the toe box area of this shoe. And then that knit material becomes a little bit stronger and a little bit less breathable and stretchy in areas where you want the shoe to have a little bit more structure so that your foot's not sliding around too much. It does look like there's a knit tongue on this shoe as well, but it's kind of a regular padded tongue, so you are going to get some protection from pressure on the laces, and then it's kind of finished at the top with a knit material and then this kind of front pull tab. Then you have a pretty healthy dose of padding all around the heel cup, not as much as I've seen in some other max cushion or even daily training shoes, but there is enough to make it feel luxurious and plush when you put your foot into the shoe. And that ends in a little bit of an Achilles flare that you can use as a bit of a grip so that you can get the shoe on in conjunction with grabbing on by this front knit stretchy pull tab. There is a good amount of structure in the heel cup that's back here too, and you are going to be sitting inside this quite a bit, and so you are using both the side walls of this midsole foam and that heel cup to kind of create a little space for your heel to get locked into. I went with my regular running shoe size in the Magnify Nitro 3, and I felt like that worked really well for me. And I was just thinking about how Puma shoes just a few years ago were always notoriously snug. I feel like they've sorted that issue out, and I'm trying to think that it's been a while since I felt like a Puma shoe wasn't quite the right fit or was more snug than a shoe needed to be for its intended use. So I'm very happy with the way Puma has kind of adjusted their sizing. But there was one issue where the area where the knit and the padding of the tongue meet, it's nicely taped, but there's still some kind of like material bunching that's happening up in there. And when I had a low cut sock, part of that started to create a little bit of chafing. So with the way that the materials are constructed on this shoe, you are gonna have to make sure you're not wearing a no-show sock. So you're gonna have to wear a little bit taller of a sock to this just to make sure that you don't run into any chafing issues that I did. Altogether, this shoe comes in at a very respectable weight for a max cushion shoe with this much foam in it. This shoe comes in at a stated weight of 260 grams or 9.1 ounces. Now that we talked about what this shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what it's like on the road. The Puma Magnify Nitro 3 is a really comfortable max cushion experience. I really like what they've done with this shoe. They've made the kind of max cushion shoe that I wish every brand would make when they make max cushion shoes. It's a shoe that is absorbing impact from the road really well, but the shoe is not too mushy. It's not excessively soft. So it still feels like a shoe that I can run in and also feel very comfortable in. The running experience in this shoe is enjoyable, and it very quickly becomes a set it and forget it kind of shoe. Admittedly, the shoe is tall and it is a bit heavier than a daily trainer, but the height of the shoe and the weight of the shoe all makes sense. There's a reason for it, there's a purpose for it. The reason it's taller is because there's more foam in it, and the more foam also translates to more comfort in that max cushion experience. Now, there are some drawbacks to the shoe. It is a bit warmer of an upper. In an attempt to make the shoe more comfortable, I feel like they added more material to it, which in the hottest of summer months could be a problem. But I feel like that's something that you're going to see across the entire max cushion subgenre of shoes. And it is a little bit heavier of a shoe, and it's not something that I necessarily want to do workouts in. I feel like when making the shoe, they spent the XP on stability and predictability of the ride rather than on pure speed. And I feel like that is a trade-off that makes a lot of sense for a max cushion shoe. And at the end of the day, I think that this is a fantastic max cushion offering. It is a relatively stable shoe. It is a predictable shoe. It is a comfortable shoe, one that I'd happy to be in for a long period of time or on a recovery run where I just want to be a little bit extra pampered. Now, before we wrap up this video, let's take a moment to zoom out and see where the Magnify Nitro 3 sits within the broader Puma lineup. Whenever I take a look at a brand, I always like to start with the daily trainer, and from Puma, that is the Velocity. This is the Velocity Nitro 4, and as the daily trainer, it's the kind of shoe that you use for most of your days, for most of your runs. It's durable enough to handle a lot of use, but it's also pace versatile enough to handle a lot of different kinds of running. But if you want a shoe that's a little bit more comfortable with that, a little bit more stack height, a little bit more cushion, that's where the Magnify comes in as the max cushion shoe. And I often think of max cushion shoes as a subgenre of the daily trainer. It's a specific kind of daily training shoe where you want a little bit more cushion and a little bit more comfort, and you're willing to trade off a little bit of that speed in order to get there, but it's still a durable shoe that's going to be in your lineup. Now, on those days where you do want to go faster, that's where a racing shoe comes in. And from Puma, they have a couple of options, but a really great example is the DV8 Nitro Elite 3. This is a shoe using Nitro Elite foam, which is an aliphatic TPU compound, which I'm absolutely loving in racing shoes. It's also got a carbon fiber plate, and it is exceptionally light. So you're getting a very bouncy, resilient, and also cushion foam that is also very quick. And so that is the race day option. Now, in between these two shoes, the daily trainer and the racing shoe, there is a category of shoe called the Tempo shoe. And from Puma, that is the DV8, not the DV8 Nitro Elite, just the DV8 Nitro. And this is version 3. Now, even though this shoe also says a Nitro on the side of it, the Nitro foam that's in this one is actually an older iteration of Nitro Elite foam. And so it's a different kind of foam that I think is in all of these shoes, even though 3 of them say a Nitro on the sides of them. This shoe does have a plate, which helps it stay on that speedy side, but it also has an upper more like a daily trainer. So it can do workouts because it has some race day technology in it, but it also has some durability features built into it, like in the upper and in the outsole as well. So it can handle a lot more usage. And this is a 4 shoe lineup from Puma that I would say is excellent in terms of what it offers to runners. But different runners may have different preferences. So Puma does have alternatives that they could switch in and out on a lot of these shoes to cater to different preferences. And so one area that I think that there is a key alternative is in the racing shoe category. So while a lot of runners, including myself, have run really well in the Nitro Elite 3, there's also the Fast R3. And this is actually the shoe that I prefer. I think it suits my mechanics a little bit better. It agrees with me in the way that my foot wants to hit the ground and push off into the next stride a little bit better. It's another aliphatic TPU Nitro Elite foam with a very stiff carbon fiber plate and a super thin upper, resulting in an overall extremely lightweight package. And then from the Max Cushion side, there's another alternative that you can look to. There is the MagMax. Now, the Magnify and the MagMax are two very similar sounding shoes, and I think the best way to explain these two shoes is that the Magnify is the Max Cushion, and if you want more max, then you get the MagMax. And I'll go into this difference between these two shoes a little bit more later on in this video, but for now, I would say that of those two shoes, I don't think both of them need to exist in anyone's lineup at the same time. So you would pick one or the other. And personally, I really like big, tall, squishy shoes. So the Max version is the one that I would prefer. And then there's one other alternative for the Velocity that exists in the lineup as well. And that is the Forever Run. This is Forever Run Nitro version 2. This is a slight stability shoe, and they're achieving that with a dual density foam system. And normally I don't like light stability shoes, but this is one that I'm able to get along with, and I really enjoy the ride that's on this. And so if the changes to the Velocity don't suit you and you feel like the Velocity has gotten to be a little bit too tall or a little bit too squishy, then I feel like the Forever Run Nitro 2 is going to be the solution for you. But personally, like I said, I really like big, tall, squishy shoes, so the Velocity Nitro 4 is something that I would prefer even over the Forever Run Nitro 2, which is a shoe that I also really do like. And so this is the way that I would look at a 4-shoe lineup from Puma that would suit a runner with my set of preferences. Now let's wrap up this video by going over the buying guide, and we'll also discuss some of the alternatives. The Puma Magnify Nitro 3 is a wonderful example of a modern max cushion shoe. It's comfy, cushioned, reasonably stable, and it's not too heavy. It's a shoe that I could use for everyday runs, long runs, and recovery runs as well. It's currently available now for $160, and while that is a lot of money to pay for a running shoe, I think it's a very good price for an all Puma max cushion cruiser. But let's take a look at the rest of the market and see where the competition stacks up. And I think the biggest competitor to this shoe comes from actually within Puma itself, and that's going to be the MagMax. Now, this is another Puma shoe that uses all nitro foam, and a lot of it, it's even taller than the Magnify Nitro 3 is, coming in at 47 millimeters of stack height in the heel. And I'm actually not 100% certain as to the exact chemical composition of the nitro foam that's in this shoe. I think that it's the same foam that's in the Magnify Nitro 3, just more of it, but I do think that there is a little bit of a tweak to it. I feel like even though it is a taller shoe, there's more travel when my foot hits the ground in that shoe. So one way that I would look at these two shoes is that if your idea of comfort is a shoe that compresses a lot and then decompresses in a very relaxed kind of way to create a soft experience, then the MagMax is for you. But if your idea of softness is a shoe that isn't too squishy, then I think the Magnify Nitro 3 is the way to go. And if you're not sure what kind of softness you like in a shoe, because maybe that's a little bit of a ridiculous thing to think about that if you look at the Magnify Nitro thing, you think maybe that's still not enough shoe for me, go with the MagMax, because it's just a little bit more of what the Magnify has to offer. That shoe comes in at a retail price of $180, so you are paying a little bit more to get to the Max. Now, the first shoe from another brand that I thought of when I tried the Magnify was from the Swoosh, and this is the Vomero 18. Now, this is a shoe that does use PEBA foam in it, and there is a second layer of foam that's in here too, Nike's React X foam. So it's a dual layer foam system. And while I feel like the Vomero is one of the better examples of max cushion shoes that Nike has been able to make, I feel like Nike hasn't always been good at making max cushion shoes. I still feel like I want more in terms of max cushioning from the Vomero 18. It still feels more like a daily trainer than a max cushion shoe to me, or like one of those premium daily trainer kind of things that maybe has a little bit more stack height and a little bit more comfort, but maybe not a max cushion shoe. That's kind of where the Vomero 18 fits in for me. And from a fit perspective, the Vomero 18 is a much more snug experience, and the shoe feels just a little bit on the short side, and I think that's just kind of how they want it to fit. It does make the shoe feel a little bit more nimble, even though it is also a big shoe. And overall, if you were talking about what feels like it has more cushion underfoot, I would go with the Magnify. But if you want something that's a little bit not quite as max as even just the regular non-max Magnify, then I'd say go with the Vomero 18. And that shoe will save you $5 because it comes in at $155. And then the last shoe that I think we should talk about today comes from Skechers, and this is the Aeroburst. This is a new shoe from Skechers this year. They released a triplet of new shoes after kind of going quiet in the performance running scene for a little bit. And this shoe has been a surprisingly good max cushion option from the Big S. They're using a dual layer supercritical foam system here. I don't know exactly what the foam is, but it's not PBA. That's one thing that I can say. There is a little bit of a H plate. They say it's carbon infused that stabilizes a little bit of the foam, and it's trying to deliver a lot of the same experiences that the Magnify Nitro 3 is trying to deliver. I'd say the differences between these two shoes are that I think that the Aeroburst is a little bit mushier of a shoe, so it's not quite as peppy in the decompression after the shoe squishes, and it's also a lot heavier of a shoe as well. So it's a very good max cushion shoe. I think it's probably going to end up being one of the top max cushion shoes of the year for me when all said and done. But I think that some of the response times of it are a little bit different that make it feel more on the recovery run only side of max cushion rather than being a little bit more well-rounded like the Magnify Nitro 3 is. You will save a little bit by going with the Skechers though, because that shoe comes in at $150. So those are my thoughts on the Magnify Nitro 3. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the shoes that I talked about today in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to answer any questions you have over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?